In this video, we're going to be taking a look at taking our Rader Nation text that we created in part 1 and creating our own typeable TrueType font. When we take the time to do that, we can then apply our text to a curved object, which we're going to show how to apply the Rader Nation text to a football design. So what we're going to do first is take our Rader Nation text and let's just make a copy of it. And then we're going to take the word nation, let's group it together, Control G, so we select the whole thing, move it up here, select one of these stones over here on the end of Raven and hit T for top. That will align nation to Raven. Then what we're going to do is we're going to right click a nation and ungroup all. And we're going to delete the extra letters that we're not going to use. So we have N in Raven, so we can get rid of N here in nation. So get rid of that. We have A as well in Raven, so we don't need that in nation. Now we don't have a T, an I, and O, but we do have this other N, so we can delete that as well. So these are the letters that we're going to add to our custom font. Now, yes, it would be nice if we would go ahead and create the entire font, but there's a lot of times where I'll only create a font for a specific purpose. Definitely easier to create our own custom font than to apply each one of these letters to the curve of a football. You'll get a lot more perfect results if we just take the time to create our own TrueType font. So let's show you how this works. What we need to do is add a little bit of spacing between each letter. Okay, so the first step is kind of just to come in here and add a little spacing between each letter. We don't need a bunch of spacing, just a little bit of spacing between each letter will make this process a little bit easier here. We'll use our freehand pick tool to grab our V, only available in CorelDRAW X6. Pretty handy little tool that is. Alright, so we have our letters now nicely spaced apart. So we're going to select all of our letters, come to the Font tab here in Easy Stone, and choose this option of Combine Letters. Now, what this essentially does, this box right here, what Easy Stone is going to do is going to look at what we have selected. Anything that is closer than 2 millimeters apart, it's going to combine into a single object. That's what it means. Group means the same thing, except instead of combining into a single object, it's going to group what we have selected into a group. Different times we want to use different functions, but for creating a TrueType font, each letter needs to be one shape. So it needs to be combined, not grouped. So we'll hit combine. And you can see now the O, all the individual stones of O are now one single object. Okay. So all these are just one single object. All right. So now that we have that, you can see we have an export font function. So let's go ahead and right click on export font. And what that does is it changes our document units, our page size rather, and then it adds 2 guidelines for us. So let's take all of this and just throw it up here. Let's unlock this and throw it up there too. It's okay to have all this extra stuff outside of our page, but we don't want it inside our page. So now we're going to take this text and just drag it over here. So what we're going to do is hit L for left, and then you take all this cluster and snap it right to that left and bottom guideline. And then we can scale this. We don't have to, but we could scale this if we want to. Make those stones bigger. Like I said, it really doesn't matter. I typically will do that. So now we're ready to convert this into a font. Okay. So what we're going to do is click on Export Font. And let's go ahead and give it a name. And I set my fonts to EST, and let's just call it Rader Nation. Okay, then what I would do is I would select that, copy it, Control C, and then when I hit Export Font, copy that same name right into here. Rader Nation, just like that. All right, and then everything else will kind of leave the same, just the way it is. So sometimes I'll change my spacing width, but in this case I won't bother with that. But everything else stays the same. So click OK, And up pops this dialog box, and it shows us the letter that we're going to define, which is the capital N. So here's N, and click OK. E, R, V, right there, A, I, T, O, done. Okay, so now we've created our own custom font that you're going to find on your desktop. Okay, whatever you named your font, it'll be on your desktop. Then what we're going to do is take that font that's on the desktop, and I say on the desktop because that's where I told it I wanted to save it, and I would generally recommend that you do the same. Once you find that font on the desktop, then we're just going to copy it into our Windows Fonts folder. So you want to typically go to C Drive, Windows, and then Fonts. All right, and then once we've done that, then we should be able to find the font right here inside CorelDRAW. Now we don't have to actually close CorelDRAW for that font to be visible. In other words, we could just minimize CorelDRAW, copy it into our fonts folder, then we go into our text tool here in CorelDRAW, we should see our new Rader Nation font. So let's go ahead and open up Font Manager here inside Easy Stone. Keep our fingers crossed, and then any kind of luck we'll find Rader Nation. Now the font finder here in Easy Stone version 3, very, very handy tool. It shows us all fonts we could look at, Rhinestone only fonts. If we scroll down the list here, look at there. There's Rader Nation. We could also type in Raven, and it would just show us the Rader Nation font, which we can see there is available to us. So now what we're going to do is take a look at our Rader Nation font and adding it to an existing design. So earlier we created a football for doing a heat press vinyl application. So let's go ahead and open it up. Here's our football. And this is where I want to add my Rader Nation text to. So what we're going to do here, let's go ahead and select this and make a copy of it. And let's delete this, and let's take our white, and I don't know, let's make it just a crazy color. It doesn't really matter what color we make it. All right, so what we're going to do here is type out Raven, like so. And then if we select this, Rader Nation, now we know that this text is about 1 inch. So if we type in 1, we're going to scale it to 1. So now the text is 1 inch. What's going on here? Let me undo that. Looks a little strange. Okay. Let's see. Let's try scaling it again. Well, what's happening here? There we go. All right, because it's kind of like a weird stretch thing going on. All right, so we have the word Raven. Now you can see the distance between the A and the V looks a little strange. So we can fix that. Just come into your shape tool, and we're going to select this dot, and this dot. And then just use your arrow keys, probably is the easiest thing to do. And move that over to be whatever we want it to be. Okay. So once you kind of have that in place, the distance here, if we want these letters a little bit closer together, we can just drag that, and you can see you can then control the distance between the letters a little bit more. So put it wherever you think you like it. You've got those 3 nodes selected, so then you can just fine tune the exact positioning between the A and the V. Okay, so that looks pretty good for Raven. And now let's just go ahead and duplicate that and just type out the word Nation. So there's the word Nation. And again, we would probably take a look at this, see if we want the N and the A a little bit closer together. Also the A and the T. I think we do. So let's go into our shape tool here, select these nodes, and then again with my arrow keys, just kind of fine tune the exact placement however you want it to be. I'll go with something along that line right there. Okay, so there is Rader Nation. So now the next thing to do is actually to apply this text to the curve. So to do that, we're going to select Raven, select our curve, and use this option right here, text to path. Okay, so now Raven is in place. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take this, see that little control handle right there? There's a little control handle right here, and then we can kind of just position it wherever we want it along that curve. Okay, so I'm going to just bring it down, something like so. So now you can kind of see how Rader Nation is. Again, we can switch over to our shape tool, click on our text, and we can control these individual points. So I would just pull that so that the spacing between the A and the V is like we want it. And then do the same thing here with our E and our N. Just kind of pull that over a little bit. And there is Raven. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to kind of do the same thing with Nation. So again, we'll select Nation and we'll select our shape and do the text to path again. And it looks a little messy right now, but find that control handle. Find that control handle and let's put this in place where we need it. So we're going to have this along the bottom, but now you can see it's upside down. So that's what these tools do. So we're going to flip it vertically, flip it horizontally. So now it's facing the right direction. Now we just need to fine tune its placement. So that, again, that control handle, we might want to zoom in a little bit here, get that offset from our shape exactly the way we want it. I'm going to actually move Nation in a little bit from the edge of our football. So let's do that. Take a look again. Yes, that looks pretty good. All right, so now it's just a matter of finessing these letters a little bit to get the spacing kind of like the way we want it. So the N and the O look good to me. The I looks good to me. T is a little bit close to the I. So I'm going to switch over to my shape tool here. Select these three. There's one. Hold my shift key down. 2, 3. So when I move my T, I'm going to move everything. So you can see how I'm moving the T. Zoom in a little bit if we need to. Just fine tune that exactly the way we want to. Okay. So then we can drop our T. So hold the shift key down. We'll drop our T, but we still have these two selected. And then I'll probably move my A in just a little bit. Hold the shift key to drop my A. And now I'm just working with my N. Okay. So there is Rader Nation. Pretty cool, right? So now I can kind of look at this and decide if I'm happy with that. And I think I am. I think that will be the design that I want. All right. So now the next thing to do is I'm going to select my text. Now this you have to be a little bit careful of. Okay. So we're going to select our text. And we're going to select our text again. So now, if you look very closely, this is the only piece of text that is selected right here. All right, so we're going to set our actual stone size for this text, which in this case, I'm going to use 3.4, and we're going to hit resize font, and that will assure that those stones, watch this, watch what happens here. Let me zoom in close. So I knew when I created my text, my Rader Nation text, that it was roughly 1 inch tall. Okay, so what you shouldn't see a whole lot of change with this text, but see how these circles aren't exactly perfect circles. When we hit resize font, it should set these circles exactly to 3.4 millimeters. So let's do that. And now you can see, again, we didn't see a whole lot of change, but now those circles are exactly 3.4 millimeter circles, just what they should be. And then we're going to do the exact same thing down here. So we select our text, and what is selected right now, see this bounding box, is the text and the shape that that text was applied to, which is the outline of our football. If we click on this again, okay, then we just have our text selected. Then we can hit resize font. And it'll set those circles as well. You can see those circles are set perfectly to the 3.4 millimeters. Okay, so now we have this design. Now if we look at it, you can see these stones are maybe a little bit close together, but it's consistent which is good. Because what we can do is we can just select the entire design. Let's see how big this design is overall. So this design right here is a 9.2 inches, which is about the right size for a shirt. So if we wanted to, we could make the whole design just a teeny bit bigger, right? And then we could select, let's go back to our selection tab here, and that'll select all those stones. If we go back out here, you can see these, looks like we have some other text that is selected as well. But let's, tell you what, let's just come in here and we'll just grab using our freehand pick tool there. And let's go ahead and give those a stone color. So we'll use crystal for this example. And then we'll go ahead and resize replace. And because we scaled the whole design up a little bit, you can see that the spacing between stones, we scaled the entire design up, and then we reset our stones back to 3.4 millimeter, which then added a little bit of spacing between all of our stones. So now we can come in here, right click to add a weed box. We'll go ahead and set this back to white, and then we'll take our football, we'll come over here to our specialty tab, and let's go ahead and set our football to our silver color. Or we could, see here, set it to, I don't know, you could you know, try out different colors, see what you like. Do red or maroon. That looks kind of good. Whatever you want to do there. And then we'll go ahead and select our text. Come over here, we'll do a stone simulation. And then I'm just going to take this text, because see how nation, I'm just going to kind of move it up off of our football a little bit more to kind of match that spacing. I'm just kind of using my arrow keys. And there is the finished project. So I hope you enjoyed this one and learned a little bit about some of the special tools here that we have in Easy Stone. Yes, it does take a little bit of time to set this up, but once you set it up, you know, there's all kinds of different things that we can do. Imagine if we wanted to create a football and then wrap, you know, Raven Nation around, or excuse me, wanted to create a basketball and then wrap Raven Nation around the basketball. Now that we have our own custom typeable font, we can make all those things really, really easily. So I think you'll find that those extra tools there in the font manager to be quite useful. Thanks for watching.